What's up, everyone? Sorry for starting late. Sorry if I look hit, but it is what it is. I'm gonna send Mihai the request, and then we should be good to go. What's going on? Thanks for joining. All right, just sent the invite, so hopefully we'll be good to go. Oh, there we go. I just sent the invite. Let's try it again.
Hey,
Yo, there we go.
what's going on, man?
Not much. Sorry for the wait, bro.
Oh, don't worry. I honestly thought it was 7:30. I mean, that's what I even put up in my story, 7:30. So
Oh, that's
we're
all
right on
good.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I always like cram everything in, and I had two new clients, and I'm like, oh, it's fine. They only have 30-minute sessions. Like, I'll be on time. And then it was like 15 minutes went by, and I was like, crap. So,
Yeah.
but we're here now. How's everything going for you?
It's going good, man. Busy week as always, but that's a good thing. Busy is productive. So
Yeah, definitely. I feel you on that. A lot of my clients have been telling me I need to take a vacation, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong, but I also don't mind like doing all this.
yeah, I mean, the vacation definitely feels better when you feel like you earned it, when you feel like you really need it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like coming back from a vacation and feeling like, all right, now I got to go to work because I want to do that again.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, I'm also not really sure like what to do with myself. Like a lot of my clients have been whatever, like going places, blah blah blah. And I think that sounds nice. Like I kind of wanted to go to the Poconos at one point, but now I don't know. That season is kind of over with.
For
Um,
skiing or what?
just to chill. Like they have one of my best friends has like a lake house over there, so like the views and everything are really nice. But
Oh, that's dope.
all right, so it looks like we got a couple people. So I guess we can go ahead and get started because I do also want to be cognizant of your time. And
Yeah,
thanks for
no
doing
worries.
this, by the way, dude. I appreciate you taking the time out to do this.
Dude, of course. I mean, I appreciate you wanting me on this.
Definitely. All right. So my first question, this question I ask everybody, is the thing that everybody wants to know. How long have you been lifting, and what got you into the fitness industry in the first place? And also, what are some of your best lifts?
All right. So, I mean, got into lifting back in high school, which for me was a while ago now. But basically, I did play sports in high school. I played tennis and ice hockey. So we had kind of this strength and conditioning program, which was like 2, 3 times a week. They would have like a weight room, and we'd have one coach showing us basic lifts, how to perform them. Then for the most part, we do more conditioning than weight training. So like running and different sprints and interval type training. So that was my first exposure to lifting. But I guess senior year of high school is where I took it more seriously. Um, so I was like a chunky kid back in middle school, and I did like extreme dieting to get skinny because back then I didn't have any idea about anything except I eat less, I get skinny. Made sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, by senior year of high school, I was like playing sports, and it's like I had some good strength because I was a bigger guy, but I wasn't built by any means. So I decided that's when I wanted to just hit the gym consistently. So me and a couple of my boys, we signed up to the local Planet Fitness. And from then on, it's history. So that was 2012, I guess, 2012. So like 10 years I've been lifting consistently. Yeah. Damn.
Nice. Yeah, dude, I know. Every time everybody asks me, I say the same thing. I'm like, wow, it's really been like a decade. Obviously,
Yeah.
some are a little more dedicated than others, but like that's when I started when I was like 16, same as you, like in high school.
Yeah.
Um, and so, all right, cool. So you kind of have like an athletic background, but it's interesting because you're kind of similar to me. Like when I was growing up, I was also pretty heavy as well. Like, dude, like
Hmm.
in fourth grade, I distinctly remember being like 110 pounds, and I was like one of the heavier kids in the class. And I'm like, yo, like that's when I really first started to pick up on it. I'm like, oh, like why am I so much fatter than everybody else? Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I was
so
always like, I'm a husky kid. That's what they called
yeah,
me.
yeah, exactly. And I would wear like oversized clothes to try to hide it.
Yeah.
Definitely. But that's also kind of cool because, dude, you're freaking jacked. You're super jacked, and you're very aesthetic too. So it's kind of cool to see, like, even if you start from like a heavier background, like you can still have a really good physique if you work hard and if you put in the work for it. So what about some of your lifts? Like I know you kind of have a balance in between Olympic weightlifting, which is also why I wanted to bring you on because I don't really know a whole lot about that. But you're
Right.
also, like I said, you're jacked, so obviously you do bodybuilding, and you're also doing. Um, I was there for your powerlifting meet in Hillsboro, whenever that was, like 3, 4 years ago, something like
Yeah,
that.
pre-pandemic times. I mean, right
Yeah,
before the pandemic. Yeah.
so
Um,
you're very well versed.
yeah, I mean, I guess by now I've done a little bit of everything. So originally just got into straight up bodybuilding. The basic, like 3 sets of 10 was the bread and butter, dumbbell presses, Planet Fitness. So we didn't have a bench press. It had to be the Smith machine. Um,
Hmm.
but I didn't squat until getting into college. So college, like freshman year, I had this one kid in my on my dorm. He was super huge, super jacked. His name was Danny, and he's the one who started taking me and my roommate to the gym. And shit, man, he knew his stuff. Like he got us squatting under the bar, doing bench in proper form, deadlifting, and all that. And I guess that's when I kind of transitioned away from bodybuilding so much into more powerlifting. Um, I mean, I can't even call it bodybuilding because I was like 1 year into lifting, so it was all beginner gains. But
Hmm.
really, then never went full powerlifting. Kind of stuck in that nice range of power building.
Yeah.
So that's like still what I do now is like I'll start my workouts with a heavy major compound movement. For chest, it's usually flat bench or incline bench. For legs, right now for legs, I'm only doing front squats just because I think the amount of weight that I could back squat is a little bit too much for what my knee can take right now after having surgery.
Yeah.
And also for back, I usually, I used to do a lot more deadlifting. That was like my one super strong power lift movement. But now I do more like weighted pull-ups, sometimes just heavy rowing. So those will be like my powerlifting kind of part of the workout. Besides that, I'll just move into accessories and, 8 to 15 reps, high sets, high volume, just really going for the pump. So when you ask like my top lifts, none of my top lifts are current. They're all in the past. But anyways, I hit 275 bench. That was either, I think, junior year of college, 275 bench, which was ridiculous. I'll never forget that moment. I got up off the bench and I see like the person next to me was just like looking. A good
That,
feeling.
dude. Yeah.
My squat was 375 back squat. So I was always, on that road to 405 for like the longest time. Never quite got to it, but I'll take 375. It was a grinder. And for my deadlift was 505 just because it was kilo plates. Um, yeah, Olympic lifting I got into through CrossFit actually. So when I moved when I started my grad school program, and my roommate at the time, my new roommate, he was into CrossFit. So one day he just brought me along to his CrossFit gym, and I realized like, holy shit, like I'm not athletic at all. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, I got muscles, I can look good, I can bench, squat, deadlift, but I'm not, I had no cardio, no conditioning. So I did CrossFit for just about a year, honestly, because then the pandemic hit. And in that year, I learned a lot, man. Like I think it's definitely good to have a basic lifting background before starting CrossFit, because otherwise, this is one big problem like a lot of people have with CrossFit. You know, they see people getting injured all the time, and like there's so many memes on there like about people doing kipping pull-ups and all that. And I get it, because honestly, it is ridiculous. Like, no one should be learning how to do a kipping pull-up if they can't do a strict pull-up.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, best lifts for CrossFit. My clean is like just 225, and my snatch is probably like 135. It's nothing impressive, honestly, because I'm still working on the technical parts of it.
That's still way more than I can do, dude. It's really funny that you talk about like being unathletic because, and I feel like this is pretty popular when it comes to either bodybuilders or powerlifters, is like they kind of try Olympic lifting as like a joke. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, I could do that. I could whatever, throw some weight over my head. And then they actually try it and see how difficult it is. And they're like, whatever, bro. Like, I was just pretending. Like, let me go back to doing curls and doing heavy squats and blah, blah, blah. Because
Yeah,
I tried it for like a month at one point or like a couple weeks, and my form was garbage. And I'm like, dude, how are people like clean and jerking like more than 300 pounds? This is absolutely insane. It makes no sense to me. So
it's
yeah,
ridiculous, especially the jerking part, man. Just holding that over your head, it's ridiculous.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I remember when I joined, I was literally like, kind of the joke of the class there, not in a bad way, but I would be doing, sometimes more weight than a lot of people doing proper form. But I
Mhm.
was just like reverse curling the cleans just because I was strong enough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. And what else was I gonna say? And I definitely agree with what you're saying about having a background before you start Olympic lifting. I don't remember what podcast it was, but someone was saying like you should at least be lifting for like between 3 to 5 years before you try doing CrossFit or Olympic lifting. That way you have an understanding of mind muscle connection. You know what you're doing, and you're not just kind of going in there and not like goofing around, but just trying to throw some weight overhead because that's how you get snapped up really fast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even through CrossFit, like I had, a bunch of times I had to just take small, breaks because messed up my shoulder or whatever. And the thing is in CrossFit, especially, so like not so much Olympic lifting, but CrossFit specifically, it's such a competitive environment because it's not like you go to an open gym and just start, you set up your workout and you do it yourself. It's always a class, and you're always competing with not only yourself, but everyone next to you. So
Yeah.
you're just going to push yourself harder, even when you maybe shouldn't.
Got you. That's very interesting. I didn't know, like, I obviously, like, I knew that there's CrossFit classes, but I didn't know that for the most part, it's like a class setting. Um,
Yeah, I mean, that's the extent of my experience with CrossFit. Only went to one gym, so.
got you. Well, so my next question, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what's your current balance between Olympic lifts and powerlifting and bodybuilding? Because the thing that I kind of noticed is if you want to be good at Olympic lifting, you have to spend hours and hours and hours and hours doing those two styles of lifts to get good at it. And obviously, whatever, variations in this and that. But it's
Mhm.
really exhausting for how much time and effort you have to put in. So how do you balance like those athletic lifts, but also trying to progress your power lifts and also trying to progress your bodybuilding?
Right. So, I mean, that's true. If you want to get like really good at Olympic lifting, it has to be your priority. Um, for me, it's not my priority because, well, all right. So for the most part, I do push pull leg split. I work out 5 days a week. Um, and right now, I'm only doing Olympic lifts on my leg days generally. So once or twice a week, I'll do some cleans, some overhead squats. However, I'm not really like looking to get really strong at anything overhead like jerks. So when I'm doing cleans, I'm really just doing cleans. I'm not doing the last push over the head, just because I find for me it's not worth like the technical skill you need. Like it's really hard to get that proper motion and not hurt yourself and your shoulders. So I rather just focus on the clean part of the lift. For snatches, it's a different story because for snatches, it's always overhead. So for that, I'm really just going lighter. Right now, I'm just putting 95 over my head and that's it. Eventually get to like 135 and I guess my goals for that are to be steadily being able to clean 225 and work up from that, and then steadily being able to snatch 135. Of course, like when I say steadily, I mean like perfect form. So just getting perfect form alone is going to take a lot of time.
Yeah. Nice. So, I know you kind of mentioned like you had coaches and you had some boys that kind of helped you with stuff, and you also did some classes, but how did you learn how to perform each of the lifts? Like, did you mostly do it in a class, or did you kind of learn the basics and then you kind of took it from there, like into the gym by yourself?
For CrossFit, it was almost strictly when I would go to the CrossFit gym. Um, yeah, they had once a week, so one day every week was an open gym day, and you could just come in and practice whatever lift you wanted to practice. There would be coaches around, so like they give you tips and all that. Definitely took advantage of those days as well, because when it's a class, the way the class is set up is usually a nice 10-minute warm up, and then you have your compound movement where you're doing a technical skill, whether it's like snatches or muscle ups or a different movement like that. You're doing that for like 20 minutes, and then you have the workout of the day, which is usually like, high intensity, like you're doing 3 or 4 different exercises and cycling them. So once you're done with that, it's like within that 20 minutes of technical lifting, that's not really enough time to perfect anything. So ideally you want to like just get a good foundation and then focus on training yourself. But as a beginner, it's not too ideal to train yourself.
Yeah.
So I say like if you have at least a year of experience in CrossFit, like, with coaches at your side, like telling you what you're doing wrong when you're doing it, because you don't want to do something wrong and repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
After about a year, which I guess is my case, I feel confident enough to go to like Crunch and just, set up my own clean workouts or whatever.
Nice.
Definitely helps to have a camera, honestly.
Yeah.
If you can watch yourself and you can see like how you look compared to other people you watch. Because I mean, I know this is how I learned my Olympic lifts, but how I learned bodybuilding and powerlifting lifts was all YouTube.
Yeah.
So if you watch yourself versus other people who they're doing it right, you can just see it. That's the perfect way to learn.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's really funny because like I didn't really start recording my lifts until probably like college. But it's funny because now I have whatever footage of me as like a freshman doing deadlifts, or
Hmm.
even like I told you when I started trying to do powerlifting, or not powerlifting, like the Olympic lifts a couple of years ago. The videos are so cringe, dude. They're so bad. But again, like that's how you're saying, like that's how you can tell like what you're doing wrong, what you need to work on, and you can give yourself that feedback. So for you, especially when it comes to progressing like your Olympic lifts, I know that there's what's it called? Mechanically similar movements that you would do. So for example, like just pulling from the floor into your hips and then like kind of shooting the bar forward and just practicing that, or the motion of doing like a clean itself. So what movements seem to help you progress your Olympic lifts like the best over the years?
Um, so yeah, I mean, let's say for the clean, for example, or for the snatch, any Olympic lift, what you want to do is break it down into as many components as you can, and you want to practice each of those components. So there's always, starting from the ground, it's completely different than a deadlift, because both of these are much more like a squat. Because
Hmm.
if you're pulling like a deadlift, the momentum of the bar is actually coming back towards your body, versus for a clean and snatch, you want the momentum of the bar going straight up so you can catch it on your shoulders or over your head. So generally you want to break the movement down into just pulling from the ground. Then there's a hang pull. So it's like you have the bar up, but you just hinge your hips and start doing like a high pull, exploding with the hips. Hips are really important in my boy. Hips are really important in Olympic lifts. And then you want to break down getting it to your shoulder level from the hips. So it's also going to require a lot more hip explosiveness than pulling from the ground, because you have no momentum. Yeah, it's much better to compartmentalize the movement than just going fully from the ground on your first try.
Yeah.
And that's still me every day. Like when I'm warming up, I'm like, I'm taking like 15, 20 minutes to warm up all those separate components before I actually do a full clean.
Nice. Yeah, that's very good to know. And like I know for powerlifting and stuff, it's kind of similar, but I feel like it's for Olympic lifting, it seems like it's more focusing on the technique of the certain spots of the lift versus powerlifting. Yes, you can work on the technique of the certain spots, but I think the thing that really helps is like if you see which part of your lift is the weakest. So for example, like if for deadlifts you're trying to break the floor, people do deficits and you're just doing the full movement like you're saying. Or if you're doing lockout, you're pulling from blocks or something like that. Like it's still the full movement itself, just from a different height versus like you're saying with Olympic lifting, you're just focusing on the certain portion of the lift. So that's pretty cool to learn. Like I kind of knew that, but I didn't really know it like a lot. So
Yeah, it kind of translates a bit into the same as powerlifting a bit. Like people have their weaknesses and their strengths. So if pulling from the floor, you could do a block deadlift as well. I mean, a block clean. Same concept there, yeah.
nice. All right, so I was also really excited to do this interview because I obviously you have your own supplement company, you made your own pre-workout. So I wanted to pick your brain about the supplements that you actually use. Also, again, because dude, you're freaking jacked. So like a lot of people are gonna want to know, oh, what does he use? What does he eat? Blah blah blah. So what got you into supplementation in the first place? And what supplements do you actually use?
All right. So, I mean, I guess lifting got me into supplementation because like when I got into lifting in high school, man, I was such a geek about it. Like I went straight to the bodybuilding forums, reading all these articles and like watching YouTube, trying to learn everything about it because once you see a little bit of gain, a little bit of change in your body and like, as a result of training, it's kind of addictive. You're like, well, how can I make that go even faster, even more?
Yeah.
So I was kind of hyper focused on not only like what's the best training plan, but then like what's the best nutrition? What do I need to eat? How much protein? And then it got down to like amino acids. Like, do I need glutamine post workout? Do I need to take BCAAs to get big? But yeah, basically led me to supplementation because that's like the tip of the iceberg that, and it is the tip of the iceberg, like it doesn't make the biggest difference. Obviously, the main things are training and eating. But if you got the foundation down, then I was just like, well, I got to get everything down. So I really got into supplementation. What I took, so one of the earliest supplements I was taking is pre-workout. And, shout out to C4 because that was the OG right there.
Yeah.
Then when I look back on it, it's like I look at the doses now, I'm just like slightly disappointed. But it's what was on the market and it gave me the beta alanine tingles, gave me a nice pump. So it was nice. But the second supplement I got into was creatine. And this one I was pretty hesitant. I actually didn't get on creatine until like late freshman year because that one kid on my floor that I told you was jacked, he kept telling me about it, And I was like, I don't know, man. Sounds like steroids.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's definitely not steroids, anyone listening. So that was the second supplement. And that's pretty much all I stuck to for a very long time because that's all you need really, creatine. And you don't need pre-workout, but it makes lifting fun. It's like a ritual,
Yeah, definitely. I was pretty similar. Like in high school, I think I might have tried like a protein shake. And then one of my friends, dude, give me like a massive tub of creatine, but I had no idea, you know what I mean, like much about it. I just heard like rumors and I was like, somebody told me that basically the only thing that creatine does was like help you retain water in the muscles. So in my head, I'm like, well, I don't want to be heavier. Like, I don't want to hold a lot of water. So why would I take creatine? Not really realizing like all the benefits it has to your performance and actually how like great it is for you. So I didn't really start taking anything until a couple of years ago. Honestly, until I really like started to become an adult and had like an actual 9 to 5, and I realized, oh crap, I can't dictate my sleep schedule. So that's when I started taking pre-workout. And then once I hired a coach for like nutrition, that's when I started taking like protein and like creatine and stuff like that. But again, like I didn't really know a whole lot about it. It was kind of just like, okay, let me read what's on the page. Okay, that's what I need to do. So that's also like why I wanted to pick your brain about this stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I didn't even mention protein. Obviously, I did take protein, but I just don't consider it a supplement because I think protein's a food. You know, like whether you get it in a powder form or if you're eating it, you know, it's a macronutrient. It's not like creatine or amino acids. Another thing is people got to know about BCAAs, man. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like this is almost, well, not, yeah, it's a waste of money, sort of, because they're literally, there's branched chain amino acids is what it stands for. And amino acids are what make up protein. When you eat protein, your body's going to degrade it into amino acids. And most of the protein sources people are eating have all the branched chain amino acids they need. So, you know, there's a meme out there of like Michael Phelps or someone in a swimming pool throwing a bottle of
Oh
water over their
yeah.
head when they're in a swimming pool. And that's kind of BCAAs if you're eating enough protein. If you're not eating enough protein, I mean, you need to fix that before you can think about supplementation anyways. I guess we could talk, one thing is like, another one in the same category, sort of, is fat burners. Because for the large majority of fat burners, it's like a high stim product is what you get.
Mm.
And really, the effect that they have in terms of raising your thermogenesis or your metabolic rate is so minuscule that, I mean, like if you eat an extra cookie that day, you've undone anything 10 of those pills could have helped you with. So, you know, it's just like, don't spend your money on fat burners. Just stick to your diet and maybe add in some cardio, and it'll be way better than that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's interesting because somebody kind of put it this way, which I'm sure whatever, it's a lot more complicated than you think. But somebody basically said like BCAAs is kind of like just flavoring your water at that point because like you're saying, it's just like you're already getting enough, blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. But for me, I'll definitely like use them, but it's mostly to get me to drink more water because I'm the kind of dude like I need flavor, you know what I mean? And so if
Yeah,
my
I feel that.
yeah, if I'm gonna focus on hydration and this is gonna help me do it, like I don't mind necessarily dropping a little bit of money to help get me through my gallon, blah blah blah. And then what was the other thing we talked about? I don't know why I'm like blanking super hard, but that was like the main thing. Oh yeah, and then
Yeah.
when I'm dieting down, that's also when I'll focus on using like BCAAs and stuff like that, or like I more recently started using glutamine for recovery. And honestly, like I felt a little bit of a difference, but I just needed sleep and hydration. Like I just need
Yeah.
more and more sleep and hydration.
So I like
Uh,
that you said you felt a little bit of a difference because, I mean, glutamine, the research shows it really doesn't help with much. And that's like, this is like a reoccurring theme with a lot of supplements that don't have sufficient research behind them. All you see out there are anecdotes and people, you know, people going like, oh, I felt this, you know, I had a better workout. I was, you know, more full. My muscles blew up. But you got to realize, like, if someone is spending good money on a product, then they're probably going to, you know, get positive reinforcement to, you know, get better sleep, actually try hard in your training sessions and, you know, eat better. So all of that's going to just, you know, give you better results in the end, but it had nothing to do with the product. It just had, you know, a little mental click that you're like, oh man, I bought this product, now I'm going to get jacked.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like a lot of stuff are placebo, and so like things like you're saying, like creatine or whatever, that actually have like the scientific backing for it and actually show performance, like increase your performance or like beta alanine, like stuff like that. I feel like those are actually worth the money. But at the end of the day, you even said it before, you can make a lot of gains just by going in and putting in the work. Like I remember high school, college, I never took pre-workout, I never took protein. I just went in and I lifted. And then you could see a physical difference over the years.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, there's like a pyramid, a foundational pyramid of gains. And the base is what you need to build. The base is what everyone needs to build: nutrition, sleep, and training. Next main thing is, you know, how you do all of those things. like breaking down the macros, stress management, and I guess your style of training, you know, how often you do it, total volume. Above that is just consistency. Are you doing everything at the bottom of the pyramid consistently? And then you have the tiny top, the supplements.
Yeah.
So for most people, if you've got the base of the pyramid, you're going to make pretty much all the gains you were asking for. But if you want even more and you make sure that everything else is in check, then, you know, supplementation is the next part.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is going to be kind of like what level you're at. You know what I mean? So something I kind of talk
Yeah.
about with clients is if you're just starting out with lifting, and let's say whatever, you're squatting 135 or like you're benching a 25 on each side or something like that, you can go relatively hard and be recovered within a couple of days. But if you've been lifting for as long as someone like you or I, like a decade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Squatting in the 400s, benching in the 300s, and you're doing that, that is when I would say, okay, if you're getting your nutrition is good, hydration, and your recovery, like you're making sure you're staying on top of all those, then I feel it just like you're saying, then you can start to incorporate supplements to kind of give you that extra bit. And honestly, that's the reason why I started taking glutamine, is because I was getting 8-9 hours of sleep, drinking a gallon a day, eating around like 2,800 calories. Like I was on top of everything, but I still felt fried. So that's why I needed that just a little bit more to help me get through it.
Right.
Let me see. So next up, I wanted to talk to you about your pre-workout, man. How did you decide to use, or how did you decide what to use for your pre-workout?
Yeah. So basically, like I said, I got deep into supplementation, reading all this stuff online, and C4 was the first pre-workout I would take. And I quickly realized, like, well, the beta alanine is what's giving me the tingles and the endurance. The arginine, because I used arginine at the time, is what's giving me the vasodilation. So I really got into each individual ingredient. And starting in college, like around sophomore year, is when I would just buy in bulk, you know, each ingredient separately from Amazon, and I'd mix them in myself. You know, like I have a little scale and just, you know, put them into a big empty tub of like chocolate covered raisins or something, add like a flavoring packet of fruit punch, and call it a day. You know, take that with a teaspoon. Me and my boys would like hit at the gym, and, you know, that was the origination of, you know, trying to formulate my own pre-workout supplements. You know, over time, like the past, I guess, I've been lifting for 10 years. Yeah. So over the 10 years is when a majority of all this like good research has been coming out, really telling us like what the optimal doses are for like creatine and citrulline and beta alanine, and how so like not only do we know that they work, they give us the performance benefits we want, but the science is so sound that we know like mechanistically what they're acting on in our body and why they're doing that, you know? So that all led me to, I guess once I graduated undergrad, I started grad school here at Rutgers, and I decided to start like a little side project to, you know, put an official label on the formula that I'd been using at that time for, you know, for a few years, and see if I can make a little business project out of it. So that was back in 2018, and yeah, now it's 4 years later. We've like rebranded, coming out with new flavors soon, new product also. So
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I remember, I'm trying to think of exactly when it was, but I remember you selling, this was back when it was pre-Bro Dude. You were
yeah,
selling some at Crunch, and I copped some from you. And I was like, wow, this is actually really good. And the thing that made me, not just because whatever, like I knew you from the gym, and I knew that you were like studying some of this kind of stuff, doing like the research, blah, blah, blah. But that you kind of explained that there's no like BS in it. You know what I mean? It was all strictly the ingredients that you knew were scientifically backed up. I feel like
right,
especially a lot of like more popular companies, is they just load it with stims, right? So for example,
yeah,
like if you want like a high stim pre-workout, some of these pre-workouts have almost 400 milligrams of caffeine. And then
yeah.
it's like, okay, well, if you like lifting in the afternoon or evening, then you're screwing over your sleep schedule. So
Or
I
if you
like
like
yours.
taking pre-workout every day.
Yeah, exactly. And so I like yours because yeah, you do have stim and non-stim options, but it's nothing like I don't feel like I'm not gonna be able to sleep that night, like if I take it.
Yeah, no, definitely. So like the thing with with caffeine is it's energizing in the sense that, what it does mechanistically is an adenosine receptor inhibitor, and adenosine receptors are how your body feels getting tired. So if you take caffeine, your body's just going to not be able to feel that it's getting tired. That's technically how it works. But where does that even come into play with like increasing performance? And like what the research shows is that to actually see like a bigger 1 rep max or like, strength performance in the gym, you need to be taking like 300 to 600 milligrams of caffeine. And that's just not sustainable. I mean, like if you have a PR day and you want to go crazy and take 400 milligrams, once in a while, that's fine. It's probably going to help you. But it's not something you're going to want to take as a daily driver pre-workout. And you shouldn't, because your body's going to build a tolerance to it. It's not going to hit you as well. And you're just going to get fried overall. You're going to burn out.
Yeah,
And caffeine
definitely.
is
And
so cheap. It's like the
yeah,
cheapest ingredient. So like companies love to fill like their pre-workouts with cheap ingredients because they have a bigger profit margin. And even though it's a cheap ingredient, it gets people wired, So they're like, oh man, the pre-workout's hitting. And it's like, the caffeine is hitting. There's not much pre-workout in there though.
yeah, definitely. And honestly, dude, like that's happened to me before. I remember at one point I would take like a pre-workout before I would do like cardio in the morning, and that would be I think like close to 300 milligrams of caffeine, something like that. And then
Yeah.
I built up, like you said, I built up a tolerance over time, and I would still be tired and feeling like garbage going into my list. I'm like, okay, well, I looked into I guess like the recommended or not recommended, but like basically like the safe doses or dosages of caffeine, and I think that's somewhere around like 5 or 600, something like that. So I was like, all right, like I'm good, like I can take more. But then just like you're saying, if I'm taking in 500 milligrams of caffeine a day, like it's completely wrecking my sleep schedule, and then I'm not recovering, and the whole thing just snowballs.
Yeah, it's that. And then the thing with caffeine is it creates a dependence.
Yeah.
Um, if you're getting used to taking 300 to 500 milligrams every day, well, you're going to need to take that just to feel normal.
Yep.
So the
Yeah,
thing about
and
taking a break, it's gonna suck.
exactly. And I noticed that because like I normally work out during the week and then have the weekend be my rest times. So the weekends I wouldn't be taking in any caffeine. I'll start to get the caffeine headaches. And I was like, whoa, like what's wrong? And then that's when I realized like, all right, I need to take a step back. I need to reduce my dosage. That way when I do use it, yes, I can feel it more, but also I'm not becoming super reliant and dependent on it, just like you're saying, to feel normal.
Yeah, and like for pre-workouts, you do want to feel something. I mean, that's why you take it before the workout. Um, so I'll just break it down. I guess like the main ingredients like that you're gonna feel the effect of is primarily beta-alanine. So that's great for endurance. It's gonna act as a blood buffer basically and help you not build up lactic acid as fast during your workout. And that's what gives people the tingly feeling in their skin. It's called paresthesia. It's completely safe. But once you feel that kicking in like 10 minutes, 20 minutes after taking pre-workout and you're itching, sitting in traffic on the way to gym, it's going to be a good one. The other thing is the nitric oxide boosters. And that's like my favorite ingredient of pre-workouts is nitric oxide boosters. There's the citrulline malate, which is very similar to arginine because it's a precursor to arginine basically. And both of those are part of the urea cycle, in which nitric oxide is just the byproduct of them. So the nitric oxide is going to vasodilate your blood vessels, get more blood flowing, give you a bigger pump. And the reason I put citrulline malate in my pre-workout versus arginine is that arginine has been shown to have really low bioavailability. And a lot of people have like gastric problems from it, like stomach aches and that kind of stuff. So it's not ideal to take pre-workout, whereas citrulline malate, way better bioavailability. And then the other one for nitric oxide booster is beetroot. So beetroot, I feel like is up and coming in the supplement industry because it's like a fruit, like, or a root rather. Like people are like, well, how's that going to help me pre-workout? But the thing is, it's like one of these vegetables that's so high in nitrate content. So nitrate is NO3, nitric oxide is NO. And basically when you're ingesting nitrates like NO3, your body just stepwise degrades them to NO2 and then to NO. So you've basically now got two different pathways coming at you with more nitric oxide. So these two effects with beta-alanine and nitric oxide boosters, plus, the general strength from creatine, which creatine you don't need to take pre-workout. You can take it any time of day, as long as you take it every day. But all that together is going to, it's a great recipe for a pre-workout supplement. Meanwhile, caffeine itself acts as a vasoconstrictor. So it's giving you that hype, but it's doing the opposite effect of these nitric oxide boosters, which is so counterintuitive to have like a high dose of caffeine in your pre-workout. That's not only my opinion on it, that's really the science.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it like that. And it makes a lot of sense, especially like I tend to focus on whatever powerlifting during the winter time, and the winter time like it's already. I looked out of my garage, right? So it's already cold, and then to take
You
that
got to get a space heater, man.
dude, I know I have one, but it's not doing much. It's not doing enough. I got to get a bigger one. But yeah, like taking that caffeine, like it kind of takes me a little while like to heat up. You know what I mean? And now it kind of makes more sense because if I'm taking a higher sim pre-workout and I'm not getting that increase in blood flow, like that makes sense why it takes forever to warm up.
Yeah, no, that too.
Let me see. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is your approach to dieting. So again, we share a similar story of kind of being heavier when we were younger, and again, like now you're freaking jacked. So are you kind of like strict with everything? Like, what's your approach when it comes to dieting, and how do you maintain your physique year round?
All right, so I mean, when it comes to dieting, man, I've literally done pretty much everything out there. Like, I've done keto. I went full vegan. Intermittent fasting. Just anything you name it, I've done it. And the thing is, if I had to like tell someone how to like approach their diet, because I would say like do something that makes sense for you. It doesn't make sense to be like just so hyper focused on finding what's the best, diet that I can do, what's going to give me better results, this or that, versus what am I actually going to be able to stick to.
Yeah.
So I don't take the diet part so seriously, honestly. I do kind of adhere to like IIFYM, like if it fits my macros or whatever. But even then, like I'm not tracking my macros on any platform. I'm loosely tracking my protein because I think protein is the number one macronutrient you should be keeping attention to if you want to make gains. And my general rule is like 1 gram per pound of body weight is like, it's golden. Like you don't need any more or any less than that. There are extenuating circumstances where people might argue that it's better to have a little bit more, like 1.2 grams per pound of body weight. But for the general person listening to this, or, like just try to get 1 gram per pound of body weight. I do think it's beneficial for everyone to understand how macros work and really figure out their own caloric needs to begin with. And that probably does mean tracking their food intake, actually weighing things out sometimes, because it's like none of this stuff was ever taught in school, nutrition wise.
Yeah.
And I really think it should have been, because it's a pretty important part of your life if you think about it. So right now, for me personally, I don't weigh anything. I don't track things just because I'm really good I've tracked for so long, like back in undergrad, that I can look at, how much egg whites I'm throwing in a pan and be like, oh, that's 25 grams of protein right there, So I keep a mental note of my protein intake during the day. And when it comes to carbs and fats, generally I'll try to keep my carb intake more centered around my workouts, pre-workout and post-workout, for fuel and replenishing the glycogen and, making sure I'm getting enough fats. I know a lot of people, when they diet down, they'll cut fats to such a low amount, like under 50 grams, which I think under 50 grams of fat is not enough. I don't know for what body weight or anything, but generally, there's this conception that when you're dieting down, you want to increase your protein intake because it's going to be more muscle sparing and it's going to keep you more satiated. And then people also want to keep their carbs higher. I don't know. People love their carbs. Can't blame them for it. But the thing is, there are essential fatty acids and there are essential amino acids. Those are the essential macronutrients that you need to get from your diet. Otherwise, your body's not going to produce them and, it's going to be unhealthy. There's no such a thing as an essential carbohydrate. That's why things like ketogenic diet work, because your body does not need any carbohydrates to survive. So I think the best plan of action when you're cutting down is not so much increasing your protein, rather than increasing your fats. Because fats have a higher caloric content per gram than proteins and carbs, but the satiating factor, how full they make you feel, fats are way better than protein. And it's just going to alleviate your body of so much extra work because it's not going to use that protein to build more muscle. It's just going to end up slowly converting it into glycogen. It's kind of an inefficient process your body has to do. So, yeah, I think I kind of strayed on that question to cutting, but.
No, it's all good. I appreciate that perspective because that's a lot of the stuff that I kind of noticed and that I kind of went through the last, I would say 2 years or so when I've been dieting down, is again, I have a coach that helps me out with all this stuff, but basically he would up my protein because my end goal basically is to get as lean as possible, but to maintain my muscle mass. But then you're saying, if you up it so high, you're taking out the carbs and everything, both carbs and fats have a protein sparing effect. So it's if you kind of get rid of the carbs altogether, then like you're saying, the protein is going to be used as a fuel source for stuff. And the other thing is and this isn't whatever scientifically backed up, and I'm not an expert, so this is just all my experience, but I would always feel complete garbage when I had no carbs in my diet plan because if I'm lifting and the carbs are storing water and muscle glycogen, that's the fuel that I've been using for my lifts. So I hated it, dude. But like you're saying, you have to keep the fats in there, especially my coach would always tell me you need fats in your diet to help with the hormone balance. If you cut
you don't want to have, that's the last thing you want is hormonal problems when you're cutting down. You're just it's gonna make all your shitty feelings 10 times worse.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's I would be deep into a cut the last couple of weeks of I'm really trying to shed out these last few pounds, and I would just feel like garbage because like I said, the carbs are low, I'd have no energy, blah blah blah. And he always made he always did a good job of balancing everything out, but everything you're saying is definitely true. And I feel at the end of the day, as long as you're in a deficit, you're going to lose the weight. It might not be as fast as you want, but just like you're saying, you need to stick with something that's actually maintainable for you. Same thing for me. I tried a bunch of different things. I never tried keto because, again, without carbs, I feel like trash. But I've tried intermittent fasting. What else did I do? A bunch of different things. But definitely, I agree with you. Find what works for you and then stick with it.
Exactly. Yeah. Because if you're just choosing a diet that you read somewhere is better than another diet that you were doing, but it doesn't work with your lifestyle, it's not going to work.
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of touched on it a little bit about how you managed to stay lean pretty year round because you've been tracking for so long. You kind of got this down for you and for your body. But how do you counteract? Because as far as I know, you're still a student and you're still for the most part kind of sitting down working with different things. So how do you counteract a sedentary job to help you stay lean?
So honestly, I don't think my job is too sedentary, which actually helps with maintaining a leaner physique, because the way my day is kind of planned out is when I'm going to lab, I'm only really going into the lab to run experiments. It's not I go there and sit on my computer. I do have computer work to do a lot of the times, writing and stuff like that, planning out things. And then, I might be sitting down at my desk for, 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. And I guess to counteract that, I always do like 10-minute cardio before any workout. That's just to get the blood flowing. That's like a staple for me. And probably 3 days a week, I'll do like another 20 to 30-minute cardio after my workout. And on the days that I'm not doing that, weather permitting, I'll try to go outside for a walk, maybe go on a longer bike ride. I guess that's another part of my training I don't talk too much about. I do like endurance training. I got into that from CrossFit as well. Like, not that endurance training is part of CrossFit, but like I'll go on like a 40-mile bike ride, just, pop in a podcast and like it's a vibe, and that definitely like, sets me up for like days that I'm more sedentary. It's like, well, I've taken care of the cardio already. It's good. But if people, you want to maintain a leaner physique when you have a sedentary job or something like that, it's really about dedicating that time to, go out for a walk, or like making sure you don't just like, wrap up your workout in a rush and then like head home. Like, go do that 20 minutes of cardio. Like, don't skimp out on it, because, you're not cheating anyone else. So.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something I kind of had to learn the hard way, because I was always a huge, like, what's it called? Kind of like the typical gym bro, right? I was like, oh, weights over everything. As long as I can muscle, like, I'm good, blah, blah, blah. And then it got to the point where I was like over 50 pounds overweight. And like, I could kind of hear it, whatever, from my friends, like kind of making like the fat jokes here and there. But I was like, oh, it's fine. Like, I'm strong, whatever. I'm lifting weights. I'm good. And then I realized, like, whoa, like my back hurts, my knees hurt, my hips hurt. I'm so stiff. I'm, like you're saying, I'm not athletic at all. So that's when I actually started doing like the taking nutrition seriously and actually doing the cardio. And even though like I used to hate it, I actually don't mind cardio so much now. But you have to figure out what works for you. So I don't mind going for walks and listening to a podcast, like you're saying. I love doing that. Or I'll sit down on the stationary bike while I'm playing some video games or something, like making it more entertaining for yourself. But it definitely, cardio is the key to calorie burning for sure. Yes, having more muscle mass, you'll have a higher basal metabolic rate, but cardio is definitely the key to staying lean for sure.
That's like a main thing. I'm always seeing people promoting on Instagram, like, you don't have to do cardio to get lean. And I'm like, sure, but like, are we playing on technicalities here? Because it'd be so much easier to do a little bit of cardio,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's true. You get a higher basal metabolic rate when you have more muscle mass, but it's like proportional. So if you're burning, say, like 10% more because you carry more muscle, well, that 10% of doing nothing is not as much as 10% of if you went to do like half-hour cardio. The impact is going to be much higher if you actually take those muscles and move them around. You got to take advantage of everything then, because also diet, you can't out-train a bad diet no matter how much cardio you do. So make sure you don't just fool around with the diet and be like, oh, well, I'll just run it off in the morning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and again, like that's what I learned the hard way, is you can't outwork a bad diet. 'Cause, dude, I'd be lifting so hard, bro. I'd be lifting stupid, like as many reps as you can, like going crazy in the gym 6 days a week, and I was still fat. And I was like, I don't understand. And once I had like somebody explain it to me about like calories in versus calories out, incorporating cardio, blah, 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 life is so much easier. And I feel like, just like you said, like I wish somebody would have told me this when I was either in middle school or high school, because it would have saved me so much headaches, like figuring things out for myself.
And I know like a lot of people, I mean, at least me personally, like, I'm like a fat kid at heart, so I like to eat. And that's when I realized like the power of vegetables, man. Such high volume, and like, if you season them right, it's fucking delicious too. So like, eat your vegetables and keep your protein intake high. You won't have too much to worry about. You can treat yourself once in a while, to desserts and stuff, but yeah, it's easier than people make it seem.
For sure. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was something that's been popping up more and more and more is the supplement Terrestrone. Can you kind of touch a little bit on what that is in the first place, and then if you either your experience with it or if you think it's worth it, so on and so forth.
Yeah. So Terrestrone it's called an ecdysteroid, which just translates to insect steroid. It's basically the insect equivalent. I'm not sure which insect it comes from, but it's the equivalent of their testosterone. And very preliminary like research is like showing that they may have binding properties to our own androgen receptors, or not our own actually, because a lot of these studies are just done in mouse models. So that's where the idea came about, that like, oh, this is an ecdysteroid. It affects the androgen receptor the same way testosterone does because it looks similar enough to it. And look what it does in mice. It gives them like bigger muscles or whatever. And the thing is, to date, there is absolutely no research study shown in humans about any of these effects, whether it gives you better performance or muscle increase, or whether it actually binds to the androgen receptors. So as far as I can tell, the evidence is not there to say that, oh, it's a worthwhile supplement. And because it's so new and there's so much talk around it, the marketing, all these companies that sell it really take advantage of that. And the price is really high, honestly. I think like a month supply, you're not going to find for less than like $60. And you're only going to find anecdotal, evidence out there, which takes me back to pretty much any muscle building supplement that like someone's going to pay top dollar for it. You can bet they're going to fucking put in more work. They're going to sleep better, eat better, train better. So yeah, they're going to see, some improvement, but I'll bet you almost anything that it's not from the supplement. Yeah, simple as that. Like I told you, my sister got me a bottle of it for Christmas. She didn't know too much about it, but like, she heard about the hype and knew, I'm always about making more gains. So that got me reading more about it. And yeah, it's sitting in my drawer right now. Haven't touched it, but who knows? Maybe I'll do like a month review on my YouTube channel or something. Be like, let's see what happens when I take Terrestrone. But as far as I can tell, not really worth it.
Yeah, from what I've seen, I've never really tried it for myself. I've just seen whatever, like other people's like reviews and stuff. It seems like they maybe put on, like it seems like they all gain a couple of pounds, you know what I mean, in a certain time that they're using it. But you can also never really tell, especially when it comes to stuff like DEXA scans and stuff like that. They're not always 100% accurate, and there are definitely ways to kind of twist it. So it's like you can't tell if the weight that you gained in that time is all lean tissue or muscle, or if it could be water, muscle glycogen, blah blah blah. Like it's kind of hard to tell. So I definitely feel like a lot of people should hold off. And then and also, just like you're saying, it's so much more expensive than all the other stuff that's already been proven. So for example,
Exactly.
like creatine compared to testosterone, dirt cheap, and you know that you're going to get your money's worth out of it because it's already scientifically proven that it's going to help you out in all your lifts. So yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you when it comes to that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean that goes for like any supplement that's like advertised as muscle building and it has no basis, no scientific basis behind it. Other pro hormones were like a huge thing back in the day. I don't know how big they are now, but I know some stores probably still sell them. And it's kind of unfortunate because it'll be high school students taking this stuff, and one, they don't even have the foundation yet to they don't have like years under their belt of training to build enough like to see any added benefit from a supplement like that, if it had anything. I don't know, man. I don't want to like condone steroids or anything, but if you want to take something that's going to give you, the kind of gains that people say Terrestrone can give you, you might as well inject testosterone.
Yeah, I definitely think, like, I feel like so many people are obsessed, just like you're saying, with like getting to the end product as fast as possible.
Yeah,
And it's
no one
like all
enjoys
these,
the journey anymore.
yeah, all these high school kids are already hopping on all these supplements, or all these high school kids are actually using PEDs, and it's like nuts, dude, because it's like you're not even anywhere near your genetic potential, and you're
Right.
already using this. So it's like, why not? And again, same thing. I don't necessarily condone PEDs, But in my head, I'm kind of like, why would you not try to go as far as you can before then taking the next step? You know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
same thing, that's why glutamine or all the other supplements I started taking, I didn't take them until I felt like, okay, I don't know if I can go like anymore how I currently am.
Yeah. And
Um,
even those, like the effect is so small, but you just take it as like a safety net, you know?
yeah, yeah,
But the thing is, like, we live in such a world of instant gratification now, where it's like, you order something from Amazon and you want it yesterday, basically. Like, people don't have patience anymore, And it also has to do with social media, man. Like, the thing with social media is everyone's posting their highlight reels. That's all it is, their highlight reels. So you're just gonna see some jack dude and be like, well, he probably got there overnight, you know.
right. Yeah,
No one's
exactly.
gonna post the hard work because the hard work doesn't get clicks, it doesn't get likes and views. So it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
Definitely. So speaking of, what advice would you give someone who's just starting their lifting journey, and what lessons have you learned the hard way?
Yeah, I guess definitely highlighting on the instant gratification and social media thing. Um, be patient is number one. Like, basically be patient with your gains and don't rush things. I think setting tangible goals is huge. Like, if you can actually say, oh, I want to lift X amount of weight in this lift, or I want to add X amount of muscle or lose X amount of fat, you can give yourself deadlines and like make a plan, set a training program, and actually stick to that. So I think, yeah, setting goals and planning and executing, you have to treat it like more than just a hobby if you want to like take it seriously. Um, is the second part of that lessons I learned, or
Yeah, lessons you learned the hard way.
it's got to be injuries for me, man. It's got to be injuries. Like, leave your ego at the door. Don't do heavy lifts with bad form, because you're just gonna enter Snap City real quick, and that's just gonna set you back from all your goals, whether it's in the gym or not. If you're like out on crutches for a month, you know, you're gonna be that guy. You might be that guy in the gym on crutches, just doing upper body. That was me, but it's sub ideal for sure. So just leave your ego at the door and, yeah, take your time, be patient.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something I said in a lot of my other interviews. I would always try to push too hard because I had that like hardest worker in the room like mentality, and it's like I don't care how difficult it is, I'm gonna keep on going. And that's how I would get hurt every time. I would attempt weights that I knew like yeah, I could hit it, but like you're saying, not with good form, not with control. So definitely
Yeah.
be patient and be smart about your training and your programming for sure.
Yeah, man. Like I told you, my deadlift max was 500 pounds, right? And the thing is, I've hit that 500 pounds. My first time was probably, I think it was sophomore year of college, man, pretty early on into like powerlifting, like a year and a half into it. And I'll look at the video now and I'll be like, well, you just look like an idiot. Like no one cares how much weight is on the bar. You just look like a straight idiot. But I'll hit that same PR like 2 years later with way better form. And it's like, I didn't improve anything in terms of total weight moved, but it actually looks proper. It looks impressive. So it's like night and day. Just take your time with the training and don't go to PR so frequently.
Yeah, definitely. So my last question for you was, what are your personal business and fitness goals for 2022? So you mentioned that you're trying to drop some new flavors. I'm very, very excited for that. But what about like your lifting journey? What are you trying to do with Prime X? Talk me through it.
Yeah, so I mean, for business, we've got the new flavor coming hopefully soon, man. I'll tell you, dealing with manufacturers is not fun,
Yeah.
but it's something you got to do as a business. We've also got a new cognitive performance supplement coming out soon. That's going to be based heavily on like nootropic compounds and some adaptogenic herbs, just to kind of wean off any caffeine dependence people have for, studying and being productive, more like a extended release type of product you can take. Um, I guess, I mean, business, the goal I set for myself back in January was 5 figures this year. So that's the business goal. In terms of like personal things, also want to mention for business though, because I guess this goes with it. Just better marketing. You know, I want to expand myself on the social media platforms like Instagram, YouTube, even TikTok. Man, like I hate TikTok, but you got to do the things you hate. You gotta.
Yeah.
Anyways, personal, it's like back to school for me. I need to like get a first author publication this year. That's also another goal I set in January. So looking good so far. I think I'll get there. And fitness goals, I'm on the road to recovery. Like I had the ACL surgery back in November. And I mean, it's been a crazy good comeback for me. Like, you know, the healing process is really quick and I'm grateful for that. But right now, in terms of my Olympic lifts, I want to get to like perfect form, you know, doing like 2 plate cleans, perfect form, 1 plate snatches, perfect form. So that's going to take time, but consistently going to work on it every single week. Powerlifting wise, I'm not doing any heavy squatting because I'm only doing heavy front squats. So that's also going to be in the 2 plate club around there. Do want to get my bench back to, you know, easy repping 2 plates, which I'm not far from, but it's going to take more work. So still doing that. And I guess just staying lean. I don't have any body weight goals in mind just because, like I said, I don't really track the foods I eat. And like, I'm not going on, I used to do a lot of bulking and cutting, but right now it's maintenance is the name of the game for me. So I know if I just maintain the same weight and I'm steadily training, I'm obviously going to lose fat and build muscle. It's just going to be a recomposition for me.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely agree about TikTok. It's been pissing me off, dude, because like for the videos that I make, I'm the one who like makes the music, right? And I have everything copyrighted. And
Oh
so when
yeah?
I post a video, they'll take out the sound and they'll say, "Oh, like this whatever sound is
Oh my
copyrighted."
God.
Yeah. And then I'm like, dude, I own the copyright. Like, come on. So TikTok's been driving me crazy, but again, like that's what everybody's into, so I feel you on that. Um, but
Yeah.
anyway, thank you so much for doing this, dude. I appreciate you sharing your time, your expertise. A lot of the stuff that you talked about was very, very fascinating. I learned a lot. I think everybody else did too. Um, Let me know, honestly, whenever you want to come to one of my events. I would love to have you as a vendor. I'm probably going to host another bench comp in June if you're down. So if you want to try to get that 225 for reps, let me know.
Yeah, dude, I hit 225 reps at the last comp. I had 6 reps, I remember.
Yeah, dude, it was sick. It was
I'm far
awesome
from that now, but I'll get back to it.
for sure.
I mean,
All right.
you know, thanks for having me on. You know, it's good to talk about all this stuff. You got the deadlift comp in April, right?
Yeah, April
Yeah,
9th.
so I'll be there.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. If you don't follow Mihai's business, please follow Primex. Please buy his pre-workout, his supplements, his shirts, all that good stuff. Thanks again for doing this, and I guess enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Anytime, man. I'll
All
see you
right.
later.
Peace.
Peace.